right. Well, it is just after the top of the hour. We still have some folks coming in, but I think we'll get rolling to respect everybody that's here. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. If I haven't spoken to you yet in person, great to see so many of my friends and smiling faces here today. And I want to introduce you to some really great people that are going to be here to talk about a really, I won't say a new topic, but I think an expanded and really important topic for MLSs. So I'm going to start on my top left, Hollywood Square. We've got Erminio Grasso with us today. He's the CEO of MLS PIN, which is the nearly a statewide MLS in Massachusetts. Happy to say that we actually recruited him into that job and he's killing
You
it. So
did. You did,
good job,
Marilyn.
Art.
Yeah.
And then we've got Joe Rogers, who is MLS United. That's a company that started, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, maybe rolling up multiple markets and now has nearly a statewide in Mississippi. And he's doing a great job of adding new services and programs for his customers. And then last but certainly not least, we have John Bro. Many of you probably have known him for a long time. He is the VP of MLS and Member Services for the Rhode Island Association, ironically, also a statewide MLS. There's a theme here, guys. This is a good thing. You should all be doing what they're doing. And then last but not least, certainly we have Jay Rooney with us, and he is the founder and CEO of DepositLink. And he's going to be telling us a lot more about what he does toward the end of this. So pay attention or stay with us. He's going to show you, but I'll give you just a quick overview and then we'll jump in. So, one of the things we know and we've learned from Wave Group research is that some people are not happy that we lost compensation out of the MLS, right? That was not and it was a long drawn out fight. You probably had the longest and most drawn out fight of all of us, but it was not easy. But there are still many, many things that MLSs do, and these guys, I think, are finding a way to even expand that scope and expand that relevance to places where MLSs can help reduce friction points without getting in the way of the broker, right? And there's a fine line there. We know that sometimes we step over that line, we can get ourselves in trouble, but this is clearly not one of those. So Jay and his wife Carolyn have engineered a solution that basically helps securely and transparently transact payments for a variety of different things online, whether that be earnest money, whether that be a rental payment, a commission check payment, a variety of different things, right? That all have to be done safely and securely and transparently. And he's found a way to basically put all of that in one place. And one of the things I love about what we're going to talk about today is DepositLink is as if not even more valuable for the broker owner than it is for the actual practitioner. It helps both a lot. But a lot of times with MLSs, we have things that the daily user sees, but the broker owner, broker manager, whoever does compliance for the brokerage, whether that be an attorney or whatever, they don't see as much, right? They're not as directly involved. This helps everyone in the entire ecosystem. And it takes what MLSs do beyond just the transaction itself into really completing the transaction, actually transferring dollars and transferring money, which is where profit comes from, right? It comes from that dollar that goes in somebody's pocket. So great topic, great three very progressive, forward-thinking MLSs that are going to talk about this today. But I'm excited. Anything you want to add to that, Jay, before we jump in?
No, I think you did a great job, Marilyn. I would just say that, DepositLink is built on over 50 years experience between myself and our VP of sales. So I'll talk more about that at the end.
Yeah, that is a very important point that you have been, and I probably are not anymore, too busy with this, but I've been a practitioner. So this comes from, I call it the school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably hear some of those horror stories about what happens when you don't do it the right way in the way that we're talking about today. So with that, let's just jump in. I'm going to start. Let's see who am I going to pick on first. Maybe I'll pick on you first, Erm.
Sure.
So before any of this was happening, your customers were doing things in ways that were not as modern potentially or not as really safe and secure. We heard a story as we were preparing today that some brokerages used to put all their checks in a basket on somebody's desk with no lock, no secure. Someone could just walk by randomly and just grab one and take it off. And it sounds like some people have done that, right? So that's not necessarily the right way to handle the railroad. So, when you looked at a product like this, like what are the kind of problems that you saw, from your practical days as running the whole New England division for Coldwell Banker that you saw that
Yeah,
this can help solve?
yeah, that's a great question. So, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here with all of you. There's so much time wasted in the old world of how we did real estate, right? So I was an agent, I
Mhm.
was a broker for a number of years. I used to drive around collecting checks. They sit on the front seat of your car. You pass it off to another agent who might be going somewhere, not to the office. I mean, there's such a security concern with paper checks that we dealt with. And fast forward to this product that solves so many issues, time being number one, security being number two, and ease of business being number three. Those three things are exactly what an agent and a broker needs, right? So whenever I look at real estate technology, does it solve those three things? And this product absolutely does. For me as a broker, you know, the worst days was when an agent used to knock on my door and say, I lost the check. I lost a $40,000 check. Now, whatever I'm doing, I have to stop and I have to become a detective and start to figure out where that check is, right? What happened to it? Why did we lose it? All these things that I'm going to have to explain to someone. That takes my whole day,
Right.
right? If you use this product, that doesn't happen, right? You don't have to worry about that time suck of, moving away from what you're trying to accomplish. So, look, there's so many positives. This is where the industry needs to go. This is what we've needed for
Mhm.
quite a long time, and to make it, easy to use is really key. And that's what brokers and agents will gravitate towards.
Gotcha. Okay. Joe, how about in Mississippi? Do you see similar kinds of problems, different kinds of things? And what inspired you to want to offer something like this for your MLS?
Well, yeah, I think it's probably something that you see across the entire country, just with handling earnest money paper checks is, it can be time consuming. And, I'm telling you, I was a broker for 27 years and yeah, that was a bad thing. I can't find my earnest money. And you tear up the office trying to find it and somebody actually threw it in the trash can, you don't, yeah, you don't want to hear that, but it does happen. And this is one of those things I think will take a lot of it out. So why are we doing this ourselves? It's just, again, I think you had kind of talked briefly about it, but with the MLSs not having the compensation piece in there anymore, I believe we need to be looking at other things to bring, benefits to the members, and I think that's really it at the end of the day. So this just made sense, and that's kind of why
Gotcha.
where we are with it. Just one of those
So
things that
John,
kind of fit
yeah,
into
have you
place.
heard any, John, have you ever heard any horror stories or what inspired you
Yeah,
guys
I feel like
down the road?
so I'm not a former broker. This marks my 40th year in this industry, but I've never been a practicing real estate professional. So I'm just an old guy who's been on this side of the fence for a long time. And but so I haven't heard those horror stories, but we've heard a little bit of pain, peripherally. Like as you said, this is really sort of outside of the MLS world that we don't hear that much about. But people talk and they talk about the delays or lost checks, et cetera. And so, in looking at this, even before compensation went away, I mean, we were always looking at, MLS value and understanding. I mean, the writing has been on the wall for quite some time, right? And that MLS's value always needed to be about more than just an offer of compensation. So, we're always looking at opportunities. And this is one, we're in Rhode Island. We were familiar with Jay's company. They're in Massachusetts, and obviously familiar with it with MLS PIN. And speaking of Massachusetts, hey, go Pats. Anyway, for us, what's your
Go
team,
Bills,
Maryland?
the
Oh, Buffalo.
Bills.
That's right. Yeah, right. So anyway, why did we do it? Not because we were so much hearing pain points, but it was a value add, and it was, honestly, a light lift for us. And looking at it as an offering, logically, I can hear about this and say, well, yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense. And from an MLS perspective, it's a really light lift for us to implement. Now, I know there are various levels you could go, and we could go deeper with it, but it just felt like a no-brainer for us.
That makes sense. So we're already getting questions, so I'm going to jump in. Thank you, Brad, for kicking us off. So it's probably a question for you, Jay. Would this be something that individual agents who have rentals can have the money sitting in as well? And do the title companies reach out to get the money transferred to them directly?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we onboard brokerages, title companies, law firms because they are ultimately responsible for any money moving in a real estate transaction. We don't onboard individual agents, for example. If an agent from, a Century 21 called and said, "Hey, I want to start using DepositLink," we have to verify and get approval from their broker owner and onboard their business. So we are
Okay.
required to do that. Now, when that rental agent is onboarded as part of a brokerage, we have rental workflows that don't exist anywhere else on the planet. We have a heavy focus on our rental workflows right now because there are so many different moving parts in a rental deal, and they can certainly park payments during, like, as I mentioned earlier, during the tenant approval process, and
Okay.
then move the money to where it needs to go once that tenant is approved. So yes, I believe I'm answering that question accurately, but yes, we do have a way for rental agents to park payments. Title companies, we have title companies as clients as well, and quite often, a title company will obviously collect earnest money or other payments, closing funds through our platform. But we also have, maybe an attorney or a real estate company that will send payments to a title company for closing or for another reason.
So it can really be, it sounds like it's the whole ecosystem is really the point, right? It
It
can be an
is, yeah. As I
agent.
said earlier, it's any
Yeah.
reason you would need to move money in a real estate transaction. And to add on to what said earlier, in addition to the horror stories that come with, agents losing checks, we've heard quite a few stories about, real estate brokerages, title companies, attorneys who have been victimized by wire fraud. So we're solving for that as well with our security steps that we incorporated into the platform and the tracking of the payments. I know that that's, a big topic in real estate today, and we're solving for that problem as well.
We have broker clients that have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars
Mhm.
with wire fraud. So that's a whole other topic. So again, if what I love about this is MLS is positioning themselves as partners in success, partners in profitability, partners in cash flow, partners in all the things that broker owners need and that agents need as well. So it's like it's expanding the scope of when really thinking of MLS as a partner in success, not just here's the technology, get in, get out and do your thing. And the rest of it is, left to your own devices. I think it's really neat. So, again, I'm going to lean on actually, Joe, I didn't realize you were a broker too. So I'm going to pick on you too. Where do you see, and maybe you can tell me from either your perspective or from what you're now seeing with your brokers that are participating, what are the kinds of things they're using this for? Are they tapping into all the different types of things that Jay's talking about?
Yes, all of it, right? So it really just once you start using it and you start, having the ease of, the transaction, why would you not, right? So it's just a very simple solution. And for me, as an MLS executive, I've said constantly, how do I get closer to the transaction, right? If you're going to take
Right.
compensation from me, if you're going to, and kind of change the landscape, okay, how can I get closer to add value, right? So this is one way, right? So if we're fully integrated on our platform, so the agent can click and the information is populated and they move through the transaction, like that's powerful for me because it makes so much sense for both agents. And then if the list agent is the one that's used the product a lot and they invite the buyer agent in, now the buyer agent has experience and the buyer agent goes to their broker and says, hey, how do can we do this too? And that's how you expand the use, right? It's through the platform and the experience. So yeah, but to answer your question, it's for anything as far as transferring money. Why would you not, right? If you have the capability, it's just so much easier to do it, here rather than to change the process and introduce some other, way of transferring money.
So is there, Joe, when you're talking to your brokers, same question, what are they using it for? Are we creating any, I'm gonna ask all the tough questions that I think people that are wondering about this might ask, right? Are we creating any disruption with normal broker payment processes by doing this? Or are we actually simplifying it? And do you have any examples of that you've heard from your broker show?
You know, well, I haven't heard any disruptions. I know before we launched this, there was some other products that are out there
Okay.
that most people seem to be using, but just in all of the travels, I try to drag people around with me, and we actually, I don't want to say this, but we kind of met in a bar, and that's kind of where it all started. And
Okay.
the people I had with
Seattle,
me,
right,
they
Joe?
were, say again.
In Seattle?
I think it was Seattle, and it
Yeah.
was who's the baseball player?
Yep. It was my VP of sales.
Yeah.
His
So
his son is a great baseball player, and we made that connection.
yeah. Well, the thing is, the realtor I had with me, her son is now like with the Cubs. He got drafted
Wow.
last year, so
Nice.
that was actually the way it all started. And I think we met later, and they had been using other products, and they had the presentation, the whole big thing, and they bought into it right then and there on the spot. And I think what was said earlier is like, I think we need to get closer with the compensation piece out the window,
Mhm.
all that we can bring closer to where they can do everything in one place
Yeah,
is to
exactly.
our benefit because, again, if they're having to go out here and there and whatever. And, so I think right now, I think we had I think there was a webinar yesterday or the day before with our group, and we're getting a lot of people signed up left and right, which is exciting for us because there's a positive thing for us on the backside of all this. And, but no, I haven't heard anything but good stuff from the brokers that I've actually talked to
I
about
love
it.
that. Okay.
Mhm.
And John, let's talk about the consumer for a minute. Um, do you think, have you heard anything, or does your gut tell you that this is helping having a more professional relation, the client and the agent having a more professional relationship by making it easier for them to process things as they need to, and that
Yeah.
they know it's protecting their data and they're not getting the phishing scams and all that
I like that you're
stuff?
giving me the answer to the question, so I'm going to just take that second part of your question as my answer. No, I mean I have to rely on my quite considerable gut. I haven't really heard anything, so I mean it
Okay.
like I said earlier, it seems like a no-brainer. Now
Hmm.
adoption, we're still pretty early in the process here. I think we've been live for about a year or so, and so we're still
Okay.
trying to drive adoption. I mean, one of the things that made it
Hmm.
logical for us was I think about a third of our customers also subscribe to MLS PIN. So just from promoting that collaboration and that ability for them to do business across the state line, it
Yeah.
felt like it was a real strong fit. And so I think our focus is now moving forward is really going to be on growth. So, I haven't heard explicitly about consumer response either way, but
Hmm.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to? I mean, I bought a condo in Massachusetts a few years ago, and then we used an earnest deposit system, and it was great. It was my first time doing it, and so maybe you're a little, oh, is this safe? Thinking some of us, I think, still think that, a paper check somehow maybe being handed to a broker is safer. But if they heard the horror stories relayed here, they realize it is absolutely not a safer way to handle your deposit. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
I heard a horror story, that a broker had three checks on their actually, I think it was an agent. Doesn't matter. Somebody three checks in their car. The window was open, and pew! All three
yeah,
of the earnest money checks literally blew away on a freeway. Like, what are you going to do about that, right? So, it actually leads to my next question. So, I'm sure in the role that you played at Coldwell Banker, at a senior staff level, compliance and security, and obviously cash flow were important issues. But how are you getting the feeling from brokers that they understand that this is really helping them with some of the issues that frankly a lot of the I've heard from like top down, even like the Berkshire Hathaways in the world, like they're talking a lot about security. They're worried about how to protect their franchises and their brokerages in this. Does it help with that? Do people see that we're really helping with compliance and
Yeah,
security through something
for
like
sh-
this?
for sure. Look, I think you just need one incident to happen, right? So when I was at Coldwell Banker, I had fraud, six-figure second deposit. It was a scam, and it was wired to Nigeria. And there is zero chance of that coming back, right? It's gone.
Right. Hmm.
So the broker has to make a determination. Do you step in and help? How do we get that money back to the consumer because it wasn't their fault?
Yeah.
And that's all it takes, right? And now it's a high level red alert on how do we make sure that deposits are more secure. And certainly, we've all have those stories, right? If you're in the business for any amount of time and you're a broker overseeing a few agents to a couple thousand agents, you've had these issues. And it's just when you can log on to your local MLS and you can use a trusted link and you know that it's going to work and and it just happens seamlessly. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Right. And I just keep saying, like, why wouldn't the agent use it? Now, I mean,
Right.
it takes the broker buy-in, as Jay said, right? The broker
Hmm.
has to agree, but the
Hmm.
training also has to come through the broker too, right? So if it's important to the broker, it'll be important to the agents, right? And I can tell you that. And if you try to go to agents directly,
Yeah.
that is not going to work out as much as if you can get a leader of their business on board with what you need to talk to them about security, ease of business and workflow, then that's when you'll get the adoption to rise. More agents will use it when it's something that is so important to their leader, their broker.
So two follow-up questions. One for you, Jay, on the compliance or the safety and security stuff. Um, I think every tech vendor in general, but in real estate, just holds their breath that it's not going to be them next because we know there have been major breaches.
Yeah.
And not to get too technical about it, but what are the kinds of things you're doing just at the top line to make sure that this truly is secure?
Yeah, so we invest considerable resources into security
Hmm.
because, that's our number one priority. We realize we're
Right.
transferred over $5 billion and
Hmm.
haven't lost a penny, knock on wood. And we're SOC 2 compliant. So, that means we have, bank level security. With that being
Hmm.
said, we are, a layer that sits on top of some of our integration partners where the sensitive data is stored. And those best-in-class partners are servicing, Venmo, American Express,
Got it.
companies like that, some of the
Mhm.
largest financial institutions in the world. So we made sure that when we were doing this, we were picking best-in-class partners. We had bank level security incorporated, and obviously best practices with our clients.
That's good to hear because, yeah, I mean, if Venmo can do it, you can do it.
Yeah,
Those are
exactly.
really good reference accounts. That this isn't some small server somewhere in Boston. This has got big juice behind it. That's great.
Exactly.
Um, and Erm, you brought up a really good point. Joe, I'd love to get your perspective on that too. That because number one, this is an opportunity for MLSs to take credit for bringing something really valuable to brokers, but it really is as valuable for them, if not even more so than it is for practitioners, right?
Mhm.
What have you done, and maybe Jay, you can jump in, or any of you can jump in on this. What have you done to educate the managing brokers, the compliance officers, the transaction coordinators, the people that are doing some of this work to make sure they know so that they can pass it along to the agents that are using it or that are, that could benefit?
Yep, great
Have you
question. So
had?
I'll just start off real quick. So
Yeah.
Melissa Lindberg from our marketing team, we've done a
Hmm.
bunch to send out and promote the product through our updates, you know, through our subscriber updates. I speak a lot to
Hmm.
brokers in the field. I love staying in touch with what's happening on the street, and I bring it up. I ask questions. That's really the best way. I target the larger brokers, right? And you can
Okay.
see, and the larger brokers for everybody now is Compass Anywhere companies, right? So, asking them, the local leadership, that's how you drive adoption, right? If you get the companies that list the most listings, right, to get on
Mhm.
board with this, others will follow. That's just how it
Makes
works.
sense.
It's that easy, right? So, and I can see it in my adoption numbers of the brokers who really care about this product. You can see the percentage of listings that they're using this on. It's obvious who cares about it and who doesn't, right? And
That's
so
great.
you can use that reporting to reach out and try to increase adoption. And if you're on a revenue share or some product with DepositLink, I mean, it helps everybody, right? To increase the adoption and the usage.
Yeah, and Joe and John, any other thoughts about how to sort of start with the influencer of the agent, the broker owner, and then rolling it down to for adoption? Have you tried any other kinds of approaches for that?
Well, we're relatively new in this. I can't remember when we actually officially launched. And with all the other distractions that we've had over the last 2 years. So a lot of emails, a lot of social media, bringing it up at all our different uh, meetings that we've had. We support our associations and our sponsors, a lot of their events and things like that. So a lot of the products that we do provide, it's kind of like we're always trying to put it in their face. I think we're up and running where we need to be right now. I think we've got a pretty good, adoption rate, but I think it has helped us when DepositLink has been willing to do education classes for us or webinars, like I had mentioned earlier. We had one earlier this week, and I don't even know how many we had, but it was, 50, 60, 80 people. I don't remember, but they're all signing up, which to me, that's great. So we're just really getting the word out. And so I think it's just a constant, hey, we got this product. That's a great tool. Use it. It'll protect you. And, and of course the MLS will benefit from it from many different ways too. So it's just keeping the word going.
If I could add to that,
Sure.
Our demos are literally like 10 to 15 minutes. Anyone that understands the inefficiencies and liabilities caused by checks and wires,
Right.
when they see the platform and they realize it's not going to cost them anything, our sales cycle is like 10 minutes. So it's really just getting in front of them. That's it. It's really just getting in front of them, and they see the value right away. They see that it's not a one-trick pony platform that just does earnest money or just does commissions or, one use case. So that's it. That's really it. And Erm hit the nail on the head. It has to come from the top down. The broker has to, emphasize the importance of using a product like this, not only to save time, but to elevate the client experience, for consumers. And once that happens, the magic happens. Agents don't go back. Once they use it once, our philosophy is use it once, and then you won't go back. It's like DocuSign, other tools that they use to automate the transaction.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking about that. I almost think that, we've had roles of technology, right? Originally it was just the MLS system. That was kind of the gotta have. Then I would say we went to MLS and public records, and that became a gotta have. Then we rolled to showing appointment software, and that kind of became a gotta have. Market stats, probably a gotta have, right? I feel like this might be the next gotta have because it solves so many problems. And we'll talk a minute about it, that it doesn't cost MLSs anything. That's a different conversation. But I did have one question because you talked about rentals too. Do any of you guys see the opportunity to bring more property managers into the MLS fold by providing this value to them? Does it create a growth opportunity for you potentially to attract property managers to the MLS?
That's not a bad. I mean, that's a good point. We actually just recently launched the Rent Edge, the Rent Spree product, right? So we've been trying to focus a bit on those other non-standard MLS markets, right? And so some might say that's a silver lining with the removal of the offer of compensation, right? It opens up opportunities into other markets, rental markets, commercial markets, and et cetera. So, I mean, while we haven't actively pursued that, there certainly is an opportunity for growth there.
And do you have, Jay, do you have training specifically for property managers? Because of course their workflows are different than residential sales.
So, we do have kind of hybrid companies that do brokerage work and property management. But we're not trying to compete with like Yardley or Appfolio or any of those platforms that service the large property management companies. However, we do have a product for landlords to be able to collect, monthly rent from tenants, because we're connecting them for the original payments. We can then allow them to, collect those monthly payments from their tenants. So if somebody that owns, 7, 10, 15, units doesn't want to pay Appfolio. They don't want to pay
Right.
Yardi or these other platforms thousands of dollars. They can use DepositLink.
Nice. So that's great for the more individual
Yeah.
small investors, which there's a lot of them. It's an
Yeah, we'll
amazing
leave the
how big that
Porsche
market is.
buyers to Appfolio, and
Yeah.
we'll take the Toyota Camry, landlords
Nothing wrong with
on our
that, man.
platform.
Good
That's
gas
right.
mileage and reliability
That's
right
right.
there.
That's
Well,
right. They're
and
a
it's
lot
been
more.
interesting. We do the customer experience index survey, which is a survey that we standardize across MLSs, and we ask a variety of questions. One of them we ask is, what percentage of your business is with investors? And on average, it's between 20 and 30%. Like,
Mhm.
this is not a small part of the market that we kind of don't talk much about with MLS. And so that's kind of a really nice side benefit, I think, is you can service those that service those kinds of the small property owners as well. That's pretty
Yeah.
neat. Okay, so let's talk about the business model. Everybody likes the word free. That's a good word, especially when budgets are getting tightened and we're worried about if we're going to lose members and all that kind of stuff. Um, Tell me about that business model. Maybe Jay, you can jump in and then you guys can add on and how you can give it free and what let me say it a different way. Some MLSs worry as soon as they see free, they're like, all right, what's the backdoor deal that I'm not hearing about, that I'm worried about, that I don't think is good for my customer? So tell us why it's free, how it's free, and where the money actually comes from, and why they shouldn't worry about where your money comes from, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they say there's no such thing as a free lunch, but with DepositLink, there really is.
Correct.
So
Right?
we don't charge MLSs, certainly. We actually have a rev share partnership that we offer. We don't
Okay.
charge brokers or agents to use the platform. When buyers
Okay.
and renters make payments through the platform, they pay a transaction fee. It's a flat $18 transaction fee.
Okay.
And our payment limit per payment is $250,000. So whether somebody's making a, $2,000 earnest money payment or a, $200,000 purchase and sale payment, in some markets, the fee is $18.
Wow. So I could literally buy a house through this and give you, if I wanted to
In
have a
some,
cash
in
buyer.
some, yeah, in some markets you could,
Wow.
but our sweet spot is really those, earnest money payments, commission payments, rental payments initially. Not so much, the closing funds,
Okay.
but the fee is a flat fee up to $250,000.
And is there anything done with the data of who bought, who sold, does that data go anywhere?
It does not. So we actually, as part of our contracts with the MLSs and our brokerage clients, title clients, law firm clients, we explicitly state that we don't sell the data, we don't share it, or do anything to, make money off of it, to profit from it. We're focused on, making agents more efficient, brokerages more efficient, and elevating that client experience.
Gotcha. So it's kind of a double hit. One of the things we talk a lot about at Wave Group is MLSs for the most part are for-profit corporations, but we don't always think of ourselves as for-profit corporations. We think of ourselves as long as we do good work and we don't go out of business, we're good. And I'd love to hear from all three of you. This is certainly, I'm not even going to use the word non-dues revenue because I hate that word, because
Yeah.
you don't have dues at an
Right.
MLS, you have subscription fees, but let's call it an incremental revenue stream, right? How focused are each of you on that, and how much did the ability that Jay's delivering to you with incremental revenue play into your decision? I'm going to start with you on that one, John.
Yeah. So, it's important. I mean, let's be real. We're not going to back up the Brinks truck with non-dues revenue, right? And so when we look at partnerships, oftentimes we don't, favor rev shares. We look at maybe discounted opportunities for our customers instead, because we don't want to feel like we're reaching into our customers' both pockets, right? They're already paying a fee and then we're reaching into their other pocket so that they can, get it back in return. So, I mean, that's what's ideal about this particular partnership is it's not that. And so, but we'd also be stupid to put all our eggs in one basket, right? So we have to look at diversifying and especially with potential, drops in subscriber numbers, et cetera. I mean, one of the ways we did that is we just became a quote unquote open MLS, right? We removed the realtor requirement. And,
Mhm.
so far numbers have been pretty steady for subscriber numbers, but You know, I mean, I think and I think the other folks will agree. I mean, you're foolish if you're not looking at other opportunities outside of subscription fees to fund your organization.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe what's your perspective on that? Are you looking at the company as truly a for-profit company and how you can generate incremental business? Because yours
Yes,
is broker owned and brokers benefit from that money, right? So that's an
right.
interesting
So
distinction.
we're broker owned, not associated with any association, and we are driven by profit, and it is top of mind every single day. And Marilyn, you and I have had conversations about this in the past, where my approach is that, I look at you know, how many, what's the potential that I could lose for subscribers in a year? Could I potentially lose 10%, 15%, 8%? And look
Mhm.
at what's happening in the marketplace. And as a primarily subscriber-based business,
Mhm.
you have to look to separate and diversify revenue streams, right? So if I'm going to lose 8% of my subscribers in a year, can I make up 8% of that revenue through revenue shares? And I've had a target and a goal of 20% of my revenue to be made
Right.
up in different revenue streams, right? Now, is
Mhm.
that possible? I'm still trying to get there, but certainly products like this help. And I think, as John said, yeah, it's incremental increases, right? So it's a suite of tools together to grow revenue in different ways that can really make you powerful, right? And you want to protect your MLS against, your loss of potential subscribers, right? And look, I think with the business, the way that it's been, total units have been dropping. Hopefully we're on a turn. We're going to start to increase units, but the amount of agents in the business is just not the same as it was going to be in 2005 and 6. So we as
Right.
business owners have to look at opportunities to say, okay, how do we, besides raising fees on all of our subscribers, which is not something that we want to do all the time, but we don't take lightly, how are other ways for us to make our business powerful? And
Mhm.
by diversifying and partnering with strong vendors like DepositLink, that's the key for all of us, right? And
Mhm.
for me, as a CEO for a for-profit shareholder company, my role is to grow my shareholders' wealth, right? How do I return a dividend to them and
Mhm.
increase that every year and make that more of a situation where I can help them, right? Because brokerages profit margins are falling drastically, right? Agents are making more money, splits
Yep.
are rising. The broker is not making the money that they used to. They're
Mhm.
looking at ways to diversify by bringing in ancillary services and mortgage and title. And, if I can return a dividend to them as an MLS, that's a very powerful thing. And I can increase that by doing things like this.
I love that. So Joe, I'm going to flip it a little bit on you and not to give away any of your secrets, but I know there's many MLSs that are continuing to try to expand, right? There's, more and more mergers happening, more and more types of relationships happening. Some people are, providing, they're a service provider. They're not actually merging, but they're expanding what they're doing for smaller MLSs and things like that. Do you see having a product like this give you any potential to continue to expand the footprint? I mean, John's already statewide. I guess I could ask you the same question, Erm, because you're not yet statewide. You're not, so that's a possibility. But Joe, do you see something like this? Does this help when you go and talk to the potential of somebody new joining MLS United that they're like, oh, that's a really interesting way to think about the MLS, and these guys are moving forward, more progressive, looking at the world differently than maybe we have. Do you see that advantage sometimes or no?
Well, yeah, I mean, going forward and, the past 2 years, I guess, been focused more on that, what you're just talking about, probably more than ever.
Hmm.
Um, we've got probably 80% plus of the realtor membership in our MLS, maybe more now. I don't know. We have probably members from all the other MLSs, all the smaller MLSs around us within our system. We get asked that question all the time. How come we can't just be one MLS? Well, I said, well,
Right.
it's about control. It's about leadership. And I mean, all the politics that go on, all
Right.
that. So I try to focus on what we can do with the members that we have now, our participant subscribers. And if we can provide the best service all the way around, then that's what we're focused on. But I
Hmm.
do believe these products like this deposit link to me, I'm open to sharing what I've got now with the few others that are around us, because it's going to benefit my group at the end of the day because of non-dues revenue. But yeah, definitely the products that you have, I think, will help put groups together. They don't know it's going to happen, but at some point it will.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we see sort of the haves and the have-nots. There's some MLSs that literally only have the MLS system. I don't know how in this day and age that that's all they have and how they survive, to be honest, relative to what you guys do, but they
Mhm.
somehow do, right? But a lot of times those are the folks that don't know what they don't know. Their boards don't know what they don't know.
Mhm.
And when you come to them with not only this, which is a great product and solves so many problems for brokers and agents, but of suite of things, I gotta believe it should warm the waters at least, if nothing else, to say we didn't even know what a deposit link was. So thank you for
Right.
letting us know about it, right?
I
And I
agree.
love that this is just me for, I'm not shy. All of you guys know that. I like that this really isn't limited to larger broker or larger MLSs. It sounds like, am I right about that, Jay? Can anybody of any size take advantage of this program?
Absolutely, yeah. So we
Okay.
have partnerships with, are you referring to associations and MLSs or brokerages?
MLSs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we have partnerships with, smaller associations and MLSs and some larger ones as well, and they can take
Okay, good.
advantage of this program.
Great. Well, why don't we turn to you, Jay? Why don't you just give us, we've been talking about the it. Why don't you show us what the it is? And if anybody has any questions for any of the panelists, feel free to throw them into the chat there, and I'm happy to ask them on your behalf. So go ahead, Jay, if you want to just show us what we're talking about.
Sure. Can you guys
Actually, there's a question even before we start. Does DepositLink offer services directly to brokers as well?
um so what types of services are you referring to?
So can they get DepositLink as an
Oh,
individual
yes. Yeah.
broker?
So, yes, they can. So they can
Okay.
come to us directly. However, we do provide our MLS and association partners unique URLs that they
Mhm.
can market to their membership, share with their membership, so that we
Okay.
can make sure that you're getting credit for that lead.
Perfect. Okay, good. All right, so let's see it.
And you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, so I know that Marilyn gave a strong overview of what DepositLink is, but we are a digital payments platform specifically for the residential real estate business. And my background as founder and CEO was as a top producing agent in the city of Boston for many years, and then I was also a broker owner for over 20 years. And dealing with, paper checks and wires was literally the bane of my existence. It created, I like to say that, other than marketing an overpriced listing, there's nothing that creates more inefficiency and liabilities for real estate brokerages than dealing with checks and wires. So we set out to solve this issue, a real issue, not a nice to have, a have to have for brokerages, to automate the collection and issuing of payments in the real estate space. Most of the transaction had been automated, by tools like DocuSign. Certainly, the MLS has changed the way that data was shared in real estate. I started real estate before the MLS PIN existed. And tools like SkySlope and Dotloop, changed the way that transactions were managed. But the payments piece was lagging. So we decided, again, to do something about it, introduce DepositLink. And as I mentioned earlier, Marilyn, DepositLink has workflows for really any reason you would need to move money in a real estate transaction, not just earnest money.
Mhm.
Brokerages can pay their agents. You can collect sales commissions, first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposits, rental fees, and a rental transaction. You can issue refunds with the click of a button. That saves, finance teams a lot of time.
Mhm.
There is no cost to brokers and agents to use the platform. There's certainly no cost to MLSs and associations to partner with us. And we can transfer up to $250,000 in a single payment. The platform is a mobile responsive platform. And in addition to the efficiencies we're offering to agents and consumers, our back-end real-time and tracking and reporting system makes finance teams much more efficient than they are when they are dealing with checks and wires. They
Okay.
love it. They're able to issue refunds and track payments coming into the brokerage, whether they're a small brokerage or a large brokerage like Compass, Douglas Elliman, William Ravis, you name it. We offer live support and training as well. So I was really passionate about our support team when we started DepositLink. We have a team of live people, 12 hours a day, that help consumers, they help agents, they help admins during the process, not robots or AI, live people. I mentioned we have workflows, again, that for any reason you would need to move money in a real estate transaction. And, oh, I'm going the wrong way here. Currently, we have over 2,300 brokerages on the platform and growing. We add, on average, 2 to 3 a day. Over 150,000 agents across the country. We offer integrations, whether it be single sign-on, somebody using SkySlope or Dotloop. We have those available. Certainly, we have an API to integrate with MLS systems as well. And we have transferred over $5 billion.
Do you integrate with any other broker back office systems other than, like, you know, the Inside Real Estates or any of those kinds of programs?
So we do have clients with proprietary software that have integrated with our platform. That's available through our API. We've built endpoints to make sure they can do that.
So that's another value that you can bring to a broker, because brokers complain all the time how they've got all these disparate systems and they don't talk to one another. So you can actually connect into their accounting systems or their or the commission management systems or any of that stuff to make that process easier for them, which is great. Okay, great.
Exactly. We work with them to do that. And I mentioned the rev share opportunity for MLSs and associations. So if you are on this call and you're interested in talking more about that, please, scan this QR code and book a demo with us, book a meeting with us. We're looking to partner with, 5 MLSs this year to integrate with.
Okay.
And if you're interested, please act quickly. Obviously, we have, some resource constraints to be able to integrate with many more than 5 in a year. But if you're interested, please scan the code today and book a meeting with us.
We put the link into the chat as well. So if someone wants to just grab that instead of the QR code, there's another way to get there, which is great. And there's a lot more than 5 MLSs on this call. So I think there's going to be a race to the finish to figure out who's going to go next with you guys, which is great. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so that's all I have today, Marilyn. Let's open it up for questions. If anyone has a question, please type it in the chat.
I do have one question about the rev share. How is that calculated? Is it by transaction? By how does that work? Not the numbers.
Yes. So we're collecting that $18 fee per transaction, and we pay a portion of that fee to the MLS or association, when a payment is made. And as I mentioned, we have a unique URL that we build for the MLS and association. So it starts with that. If a company comes to us and through that link or refers to the MLS or association when they do a demo or they sign up, then we give the MLS or the association credit. And once they start using the platform and we start collecting those fees, we send a quarterly payment to the MLS or association based on the volume.
Got it. And do you help with, it sounded like Joe said that you have, but I just wanted to reinforce, because reaching out to brokerages and broker owners is a different challenge than what a lot of MLS training does. A lot of it goes just directly to agents. Do you have training resources and things and marketing resources to help MLSs get the adoption on something like this that is so valuable for their customers?
We do. We have videos, user guides, e-webinars, you name it, available. And we can customize a program for the MLS or association, and certainly make sure that the brokerages and agents get the training that they need as well.
We got a kind of a question that you answered before, but let me clarify. The max that you can transfer is 250,000. It's not about, you can't go to 500 and pay more. It's just that's the max you can transfer through the system at the moment, right?
Exactly. That's the payment limit. Now you can do multiple $250,000 transactions if you need to, but most of our payments, Marilyn, are below $10,000 on average.
Yeah.
But there are many cases where we're servicing, Douglas Elliman, for example, in Aspen, Colorado, where they're doing those high-end rentals,
Mhm.
weekly rentals. They use our platform to collect those large payments.
Gotcha. Okay, good. But that again, it's $18. If it's $2 or
Flat fee,
250,000,
exactly.
doesn't
Yep.
matter. It's $18, which is really not much. That's not onerous for anybody to be in it.
No, my kids pay more for DoorDash when they order DoorDash. So
You had the commission, you had the tip and the delivery charge. That's $18 easily
exactly.
every time you
But
do
they're
it.
using Jay's DoorDash account to do that. So, right.
Yeah, so they
That's
don't
right.
care.
So they don't care.
Yeah.
That's so true. So what does it take for someone to get onboarded with this? If someone goes through the process and said, yeah, this makes sense. Is it owner, how owner is it for the MLS to be part of this?
It's actually not difficult at all. If we're doing a full integration, that takes some time, obviously, for the technical folks to do their work. But
Hmm.
in terms of a partnership, we like to start out with a marketing partnership, a rev share
Okay.
partnership. And then as adoption increases and it makes sense to dedicate resources, to an integration,
Hmm.
then we have that discussion.
Yeah, we just had someone that came in late. It's like he got the answer is who pays the $18, but it's not the broker, it's not the
No,
agent, it's not the MLS customer, it's the person that's actually working on the transaction. So a consumer
exactly.
or a renter or someone like that is the one that pays that fee, right?
Correct. And
Yeah.
$18, the smallest fee they're going to pay when they buy a house, as we all know. They're paying $500 to $700 to a home inspector. They're paying, all the different taxes that they see on the settlement statement these days, and other fees. So we're letting them off easy at $18.
Well, then there's a convenience to them. Like talked about, you
Yeah.
guys having to drive around as practitioners. They have to drive around too sometimes, right? Meet you somewhere, or so it saves them time and energy. And I think most of us are used to doing online payments for everything now, and we're even willing to pay a small price for the convenience factor that they get. So it shouldn't be onerous at all, I wouldn't think, from a consumer
Well,
perspective.
Marilyn, on the consumer side, over 80% of millennials don't own a checkbook, and it's well over 90% when you talk about the, Gen Zs.
Hmm.
So they expect a tool like this to be part of the process when they're buying and renting.
Good point. Right.
Otherwise, they have to go to the bank and get a bank check or 7-Eleven or bum a check off mom or dad.
And how
So
much is a bank check these days, right? I mean,
yeah,
if you want to go get a bank check, right?
Yeah, they
yeah,
charge you like $25 to get a bank check, if not
yeah.
more. Yeah.
And the average wire is going to be $30 to $35 as well.
Hmm.
But the agents appreciate it because it positions them as a tech savvy agent working for a forward thinking company, right? It's
Yep.
not a matter of, can you imagine agents, showing up to somebody's house these days to get a contract signed? It just doesn't happen. They're using DocuSign or another tool. We expect the same thing to happen with payments in the end. It's not a matter of if, it's just when. This becomes very much standard, and we
Yeah, they
see it
gotta
year
have.
over year.
Yep. And is this brandable at all to you? You just brought up something about it, customer facing. Can it be brandable to the brokerage or to the agent if they want it to be?
It actually is. So all of the communication, when somebody requests a payment from a consumer, we
Hmm.
co-brand it. So the brokerage logo is included with our logo. They love that. And the agents are able to upload their photo, their phone
Great.
number, all of their contact information, which carries through the experience for the consumer. So our clients love that.
Well, because you also don't feel like it's scammy if you see your
That's
agent.
right.
I get weird stuff all the time, like, oh, pay this deposit or whatever. And it's like pretending I'm in a real estate transaction because they think I'm a real estate agent. I'm like, no, it's obvious it's a scam. But when your brand's there, and then you could easily reach out to say, hey, I got this. Is it really from you? Like, it just makes it more friendly and
Yeah.
more comfortable. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right, so we've got 5 minutes left. I'm going to let each of the three compadres here give me any words of advice. I'll start maybe with you, Joe, go to you, John, and then you can finish us off, Erm, in terms of if you're thinking about this in your market, or if there's questions you have, or what's your advice about should they move forward and why? Joe,
You're
you're
muted.
you're muted, Joe.
Okay, we're good now. Um, yeah, I think it's been mentioned several times on our call here that it's kind of a no-brainer.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it just makes sense. And, if you want to provide something great to the participants and subscribers that you have, then, again, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. Like it is real simple. Uh, Jay's group has been really easy to work with. I don't actually get in a day and in and out stuff of that, but my staff seems to be really happy with
Good.
how the rollout has been. So,
Okay, John?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, the only other thing is obviously know your customer. And so,
Mhm.
you might want to do a little due diligence ahead of time if you have some big brokerages in your marketplace that might, for some reason, be opposed to this. I can't imagine why, but maybe there are. And you obviously should know that before you release a product that may upset some of your largest participants. So, obviously do your due diligence.
That makes sense. And bring us home.
Yeah,
Final,
look,
final.
I think, Joe brought up earlier the absence of compensation. I think we as MLS executives have to focus on ease of business and data integrity moving into 2026. And this product, checks all the boxes, right? So those are the things that we have to look at to make business easier for agents, brokers, and consumers, right? And how to make your platform more relative. And that's really what it comes down to. And this for me, it was just an easy decision.
Love it. All right. Well, it sounds like you use the QR code there if you want to learn more about this. I'm sure Jay and Carolyn, his partner in crime, are easily accessible in other places. The link is there. So go to app.depositlink.com/book-demo and see if you can learn more about this. But I think this is great. Thank you so much to the three MLS execs that shared your perspective with us. It's always really helpful to hear from fellow partners in crime on this stuff. And Jay, sounds like you've built something that makes sense from the practical practitioner's perspective. There's a lot of shiny objects out there.
Yep.
This one doesn't seem very shiny. It's shiny in a good way,
If
not
that,
shiny in a flash. As if some of you have heard me say, there's vitamins and there's painkillers. This one's a painkiller. So good stuff. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn, and thank you to Joe, and John for joining today. We value our partnerships greatly and look forward to more success in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks,
My pleasure.
everybody. So this
Thank
recording
you.
will be available, by the way, if anybody wants to share it with anyone else. We'll be sending it to all of you. So if you want to share it with anyone on your team, you'll have that access. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for coming.
thank you.
Have a good day.
Go Pats.